Hello, this is Brian Hegney, instructor of Game and Interactive Media Design and instructor of COM 1113. Welcome to what I believe is the last video in the series, and if not, I just realized you're going to hate me and think I'm an idiot. So sorry about that. This is where we're going to make the nameplates. We are going to use the swatches that we looked at. We are going to use the color scheme we looked at. We are going to create our nameplates. Let's go ahead and do that. Yay! Don't know what that pause was for, Hegney. Okay, so I'm going to come back here. We got our really cool colors with some really cool names. Notice, by the way, floorboards I intentionally spelled incorrectly. I spelled F-L-O. I cannot do a real name for some reason. I have to do some sort of pun or puzzle. So I just switched the or spelling in both floor and board. I don't know if you appreciate that. If you want to come up with really cool names, I will love it. It will make me feel good to see what names you guys come up with in your final projects for the names of your colors. All right, let's figure out what we're going to do. If you recall, what I want us to do is something like, here I have it here, right? These nameplates here. I call them nameplates because they look like the things you might put on your desk if those things had colors. But really what I'm looking at here is something you might use for the headline of your LinkedIn. So if you look at my LinkedIn page, come on. My LinkedIn shows my headline is Educator, Puzzle Gamer, Visualization Expert, 3D Guy. It used to be Instructor of Communication at High Point University, and I realized, you know what? I'm asking you all in your LinkedIn to come up with something unique and something that will sell you, and so I wanted to change mine to something helpful. Someone who used to have a really good one. Let's see if Jim Trammell. Oh no, Jim Trammell, you disappoint me. So his used to be, I surround ignorance and make it... Oh, what was it? It was so good. I surround ignorance and make it... beg for mercy, maybe? I don't know. It was really cool. He's got a nice header here. He loves coffee. I think his whole Twitter feed is him with coffee. Every day he uploads a picture of himself drinking coffee. Really funny. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the nameplate. So that's what I want you to think about. Your LinkedIn headline. What is it going to say? And why do I care? Because look at, if I'm going to look for someone who uses the Unreal Engine, let's say I'm a recruiter and I'm looking for someone in the area, and so I'm going to look for people. Unreal Engine. Right now, here's number one on my search results, Mark Petit, General Manager, Unreal Engine at Epic Games. What you're going to see is your headline, your picture, which you can't help, right? You can't help what you look like, but you can help making a really good picture. Your name, which also you can't help, and then your headline. And I don't want to see student at a High Point University because that's not very interesting. That doesn't help you stand out among every other student at High Point University. All of these people have jobs, and you likely don't yet have the job that is going to put you into the place you want to be when you graduate. So you're going to be in this weird position where your headline is not your job, unless you're really lucky. But for most of you, your headline has to be something that is not your job title, but something that will make people want to hire you and make you seem interesting. And so that's why I changed mine to be something a little more interesting. Educator, Puzzle Gamer, Visualization Expert, 3D Guy. All right, let's go back to InDesign. I'm going to go ahead and start with this. I'm going to Alt-click, drag, bring it down here, and I'm going to extend the side of this. Luckily, I don't have to worry about distortion because this is just a block of color. Now, there's two ways we could do this. We could take this block of color and take a completely separate text frame where I write my name, Brian Hegney, or I'm going to delete that. I could take this text frame, this text tool, and hover over inside of this rectangle. And notice the outline of the text tool changes. When it's a circle, it's telling you, yo dude, I'm about to make this frame a text frame. And so right now this is a rectangle, but once I left click in it, it just turned that rectangle into a text frame. So I'm going to type in Brian Hegney. Right? And here I'm going to format this. So I'm going to come over into my properties. I'm going to put my swatch panel away now. I'm going to drag out, no, I'm not going to drag that out. I'm going to change this from Minion Pro to something really fun, maybe. Not too fun, we don't want to get too crazy. Something fancy. And this is part of the assignment. I want you to look at fancy font and normal font. And that's part of the readings that I have you look at. So if you go to our assignment here, you have under weeks, limiting for weeks 9 and 10. There are 3 online readings about limiting your fonts, limiting your colors, and contrast. And that's what this blog assignment is all about. So limiting your colors actually is where I got the idea to do this project in using these color squares, because the example in the reading talks about having these 3 color hues and adding tints. And they make this one brochure from what looks like a very unified series of hues, but they're all different hues and they're all different tints of those 3 hues, and they can come up with this really cool little blurb with very little white and very little black. In fact, no black, and I think this light color is actually a light hue, so there's no white and no black on here. That's where I got that idea from. And then the limit your fonts is really talking about making sure that you actually limit your fonts. So let's have a fancy header and basic fonts, and that's what we're going to do. Fancy header, obviously if you use a fancy font here for the body, it's going to look terrible. So we really want to look at one type of font for the header and one type of font which is more basic font for the body of your work. So that's what I want you to practice here. I'm going to have a fancy font for my name. Let's go ahead and make that big, almost like it's a header. Let's align that into the center, and then hit enter and type in, well, I'm going to type in my LinkedIn stuff. I forgot what it was. Go back to InDesign and paste that, and of course I'm going to select that and make this much smaller. I should have done this a different way, but this is how I'm doing it, I guess, which is really dumb. Okay, now I can set this all to 11-point font. And of course, because I want to show you that I know that I'm going to use fancy font and normal font, I will use maybe Acumen Pro. But I'm going to spend a lot of time really finagling this. Now this still isn't good because it's not centered. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click the rectangle. And because now it's a text frame, I can select text frame options. If I select this rectangle, I don't have text frame options because it's not a text frame. When I placed the text tool or the type tool over here and clicked, it converted it into a text frame. So now I can do text frame options, move it over, click preview, and I'm going to align vertically to the center. Can I justify it? Nope, I don't want to justify it. Center it. And inset. Or I could have said top, and I could have inset spaced the top. Actually, this is probably a little better. I'm not going to align it to the center. I'm going to keep it to the top. I'm just going to give it an inset space of 0.125. Actually, can I do center with that? Let's say yes, and say OK. All right, and so now what I'm going to do is select the text. Well, let's start with this. I want to show you something. If I select this if I select this box here, and I go to my swatch panel, again, if you don't have your swatch panel, by the way, remember you can go to Window and turn on Color, Swatches, and it'll pop up. I like to dock mine right here. Click it again. It shows you what your swatch is. So if I click this one, it'll highlight floorboards 87%. If I select this one, it'll highlight Feelin' Brassy. So I'm going to select my nameplate so far, and it's Feelin' Brassy. Well, I knew that. Well, let's look at the up here on the top left corner of your swatch panel. Notice if I were to click the square that's to the bottom right, that's behind, I'm going to click that. It puts that square on the bottom right overlapping the other one. That's how we can switch between which color is our stroke and which color is our fill. Very important to note which one is which. Once I click the stroke, I'm not going to do this, but you can click any of these like What a Maroon, and it'll show you, it'll update here. And if I increase that stroke value, right, let's set that up to 9, which you would never do that. I just want you to see the difference, how we can select different swatch components for different components of the element, right? So I'm going to actually set the stroke value to none because I don't want any stroke. I'm going to set this back to the fill so I can see the fill. But I want you to notice this next square over here. This is formatting the container. The container is the rectangle. What does this T mean to the right of that? That's formatting the text. When I click the T for the text in my swatch panel, notice it jumps to black. And notice this fill button looks like a T for type. Okay? When that T for fill is enabled, not the stroke T, which is the outline of a T, but the fill for the text, I can click Feelin' Brassy and it disappears. Well, it didn't disappear. It just filled the text with the same color. So you can see, oh, here's something really annoying. When I went from Feelin' Brassy 50% to What a Maroon normal, InDesign has this glitch where it shows it as the 50% of What a Maroon because of this tint value. Guys, don't screw with this tint value up here. Do all of your tint values through tint swatches. It's just there is this glitch. I have to click What a Maroon 75 and then What a Maroon normal, and it'll set that back up to 100. Don't know why it does that. Again, if I go down to 75 and 56, when I click floorboards, again, this keeps that 56, so I guess I could bump that up to 100 only if this literally is 100. Okay. When you have the other floorboards set, don't change this tint value. This is not something you should screw with unless InDesign is screwing you up by doing that. Okay. Okay, so let me do that. Now, because I also want your headline to be a different color, you will have to come in and select the headline by itself and actually give it a different color. I'm going to go with the lightest version of Feelin' Brassy. Now I'm going to click here. So when you do that, now I have the first step of my assignment. And I might look at this and think, I love that red. The What a Maroon against Feelin' Brassy, but I don't like the lightest version of this because I can't see my headline. So what I'm going to do is click off of everything so I don't have anything selected. Double click Feelin' Brassy 50%, and I'm actually going to lighten that up. I think I need to lighten it up a lot. And I can see the automatically update, because I like my lightest color to be visible against my darkest color of the same hue. So I'm going to set that to 25, hit enter. And now I've got 3 different color swatches for one nameplate. In the next video, I'm going to make a couple more and have a little sign off. Okay, bye!